Okay, very excited for this episode of the Delhi podcast. I have Scott Greenberg here, who is the founder of Starstock, a company I've invested in. Thanks for coming in, Scott.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on the podcast.
Now, can you tell everyone what Starstock is and the founding story behind it?
Yeah, so Starstock is the stock market for sports cards. The founding story behind it. I grew up a big card collector. Co-founded the company with two partners as well, and so we all got back into the hobby a couple years ago around a similar time. And so what really drew me back in was the shift in the market from what used to be like a collector focused hobby, and really transitioned to a vehicle to invest in athletes. And being a big sports fan, being a big fantasy sports player, that was really intriguing to me. And so the three of us really got, kind of addicted to collecting cards and investing in cards. And so we were doing that on eBay and some other marketplaces out there. And it was a pretty bad experience for a, card investor. And so we picked up on, three things that we really thought was hindering the market and kind of, keeping the market back from becoming a very popular mainstream hobby. And so we decided to launch Starstock based on those, three pain points that we identified. And so it was really tough to buy players at scale. So if you wanted to make a larger investment in a player, it was really hard to do. This wasn't instantaneous. And so you had to rely on shipping cards in the mail. And we just wanted to invest in players, and we wanted the ability to day trade and buy a player, in one quarter of the game. And if they have an awesome game, flip them a few hours later after the game. And so we decided to launch Starstock really with that core focus of creating a stock market where people can buy into players at scale and trade them instantaneously.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I used to collect some basketball cards when I was in Australia. It was a lot harder to get access to them there, but I remember at the different news agents, I could get a little pack every now and then, and they had I think it was the Beckett magazines with the different prices and things like that. But yeah, not the easy access that there is today. What is your background? But before, what were you doing before?
Yeah, so I had another company before. It was in like the relocation space. So it's basically like a mobile app for people that were getting relocated by their company to get advice from other people that were relocating to that same city. So if you needed to figure out what bank to join or which daycare to put your kids in, it was basically like a community app for that. And so, my passion's always been in sports. And so, I was exploring to kind of get in that space. And the timing worked out really well with, partnering up with Nigel and Mike. And, the three of us kind of got into a whirlwind of buying sports cards. And a few months later, we launched Starstock.
Yeah. And how long has Starstock been around for?
So the company's been around for a little bit over a year now. We launched this past spring, so we've been live for about 5 months or so. And so, we're very much in our infant stages still.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very early stage, but I think you have what, over 200,000 cards already on the platform?
Yes, so I think we're at around 230,000 or so. Pulling it up right now. Yeah, right around there. And so it's been quite the journey. We launched with about 4,000 cards on the site. And so, the user response has been really, really great. We're getting tons of cards sent in to us. And so it's really exciting to see the amount of cards in our vault grow.
And can you talk about that process as a seller on the platform? How do they go about selling a card on your platform?
Yep. So sellers can, send us one card at a time, or what's more popular is to bulk ship like your collection or a number of cards to us. Basically, we process through all your cards. And so we take a photo of them, we store them away, and we put them in our vault. And then we put a digital version of that card inside your collection. And then so you're able to list that card in a matter of seconds onto the marketplace. When someone comes in and buys that card from you, the ownership immediately transfers over to that new user. You don't need to do any shipping or take care of the card at all. It all just sits in the vault and stays there. And so really what we've done is we've separated ownership and possession. And so you still own the card, but we possess them all in a vault. And so by doing that, we take shipping out of play, and we basically allow you to trade these cards back and forth, the ownership rights.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then how is that different than the process on eBay as a seller?
Yeah, so on eBay, every listing is individual. You have to take your own photos. You have to set your own, description of the card. It's really hard to find cards on eBay because you might search Zion Williamson and you'll find his cards, but you'll find his jerseys and you'll find Duke memorabilia and stuff from, his time on the Pelicans. And so, we try to take all that work off your hands. Another thing with some of the more traditional marketplaces is it's very bittersweet when you get a sale. Like you're extremely happy, you just made some money, but that's kind of when all your work starts. You have to print out a shipping label. You have to pack up the card in top loaders. Then you got to get the shipping supplies and then eventually take the package to the post office. And so for us, when you sell a card, you get an email and that's it, saying that you sold the card. Ownership moves on to the next person. And so really what we're trying to do is take a lot of the work and a lot of the headache out of the process in selling and buying cards.
Yeah, and something that really got me interested in you guys is, I guess, the difference in fees between like an eBay and what you guys have there. Can you talk about that as well?
Yeah, so that was like the third thing that really bothered us about, eBay and some of the other markets out there. They're really expensive. And if you're in this for, investing, you'll look at your profit often and see that, up to 50% could be taken out on fees. And so you could get charged by eBay, you get charged by PayPal. If you're buying the card, you have to pay sales tax. Some of the other markets charge you for, extra for shipping and extra for putting your card in like a top loader, which is like one of these plastic things to protect them. And so
Yeah.
what we wanted to do is have a fee structure that was very easy and a lot less expensive than the others out there. And so we have a 5% seller fee. That's the only fee on the whole entire site. When you're buying the cards, since our vault is in New Hampshire, there's no sales tax since it's a sales tax-free state. And so literally the only fee on the site is when you're selling a card, and it's a 5% seller fee, which is about a third of other markets out there.
And how do you keep the cards safe and processed? Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a vault in New Hampshire where we keep our cards. We have 24/7 security on them as well. And every single card is covered by insurance. And so for a lot of collectors out there, this is a very safe way of keeping track of your cards. You don't need to worry about losing them or having them stolen or buying your own insurance or having them go down in a fire. And so you send them into our vault, you know that they're taken care of, and you then can list that card to the market instantly whenever you're ready. And so, if you were holding on to a Tyler Hero card a couple weeks ago on Starstock and he goes for 37 points, you can literally in a matter of seconds pull out your phone and list it onto the market. Whereas if you were, looking to do that on another market out there, you would need to go find the card. You need to take your own pictures. You need to pull up, eBay or whatever it is, write in your own description, put the photos up. It's a whole process. And so we really wanted to enable people to pull up Starstock while they're watching the game and watch play and invest in players that are playing well.
And another thing that's interesting, I think, is buyers can list the price that they would like to buy a card for, and I guess if it hits a threshold for a seller, they can just click sell on it, right? And it can happen in a second.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a bid ask model. So the sellers could list their own price, but then the buyer can go in and place an offer on that. And we will send an email over to the seller, so they'll see that a buyer came in and made an offer on their card. And so they can, go in and accept that offer. They can lower their price and see if the buyer will come up and meet them a little bit, or they can, hold strong on the price that they originally chose.
Yeah. What has the feedback been from users? Because I'm sure a lot of other people had these same pain points that you experience.
Yeah, I think, the feedback's been really strong. We're getting thousands of cards every day sent in to us. So I think from a seller standpoint, our experience, like the experience of selling a card on our site is just so much more seamless than anything else out there. And I think that's why we've been able to really, build some liquidity. We're not even close to where we want to be, but, we've gotten, over 200,000 cards in the past few months or so. So the feedback on the seller side is really great. On the buyer side, people love the ability to day trade. Like, it's very clear that the people that are on our site are, DFS players, fantasy players, card collectors that want to have a game that they can engage with while they're watching, the game on TV. And so, one thing with fantasy sports, as fun as it is, you can't, change your lineup, or you can't pick players up during the game. And so with Starstock, what's really fun about it is you can pull up the site on a Sunday, and you can watch the football games. And when someone, goes off for a couple touchdowns, or, if a big player gets an injury, you can go and scoop up their backup on Starstock. And those are things that you have to wait a few days to do, in fantasy sports. And so that's been some of the good feedback we've gotten. Some of the constructive feedback we've gotten is just more cards. We need more cards in the site. People want to buy in larger quantities and larger scales. And so we're really focused on scaling up our operations on that. People want a mobile app. We have a lot of people asking for that as well. And a third thing is the ability to ship cards from our vault, to get graded by a third-party grader. And that's actually something that we're in the works that should be, a part of our offerings in the next couple of months or so.
Really, I'm sure that's going to be very popular because right now, if a card isn't graded, when it comes into you guys give it a star stock A, B, C or rating. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this was another thing that we built into the site based on our own experiences, buying cards elsewhere. When you're buying an ungraded card, it's really easy to get screwed. Basically, you can look at the pictures on the website as much as you want. You can zoom into the corners or the surface of the card, and you might think you're getting something good, but more likely than not, the card that comes in the mail looks a lot different than the one that you thought you bought. And so what we've tried to do to provide a little bit of trust there, is we give like grades to our ungraded cards that come onto the site. And so the thought process there is, we're already processing through these cards anyways. And so we have people that look at the cards, for 2 or 3 seconds or so, look at the corners, they look at the edges and the surface, and they give it an A, B, or C rating. An A is a card that we think is mint condition or near mint and would grade very well. A B is a card that has 1 or 2 minor errors or problems with it. And a Starstock C is a card that looks pretty bad, is a poorly conditioned card. And so, by doing that, we've kind of created our own grading system. And so what we've seen, which has been pretty interesting, is that our Starstock A cards sell at a premium to just regular ungraded cards on eBay and other sites. And so the natural kind of next step there is we've been hearing a lot from our users. It's really great that you're grading these cards for us now, but now I want to ship my A's to PSA or to EGS and get them actually, graded by a third party. And so that's something that we're working on. Hopefully we can put out this fall.
Wow, no, that's very cool. And then, can you talk a little bit about some of the growth and rises of players? If we just talk about the NBA in the bubble, there was some great performances, and none of this is investment advice at all. But can you talk about some of the price growth in cards that you saw there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched a little bit before the bubble opened up. And so, for the first month or so after launch, there were no sports being played. It was right in the middle of the virus. And so we were waiting for sports to come back. Baseball came back, I think, a few days before basketball. But when basketball came back, the market went crazy. And so I think the first case that we really saw of a player like really reacting to a performance in a game was with Bol actually.
Yeah.
And so he was out injured for most of the season. And so this was actually during an exhibition game, but he had, I want to say it's like 18, 6, and 4 blocks, something like that, played amazing. And we saw his card go from, like cents up into, 5, 10, $15, just in a matter of hours. Since then, it's obviously calmed down a little bit. That was a good one. Another one was there was a lot of hype picking up on Jonathan Isaac. A lot of people kind of identified him as an undervalued young, potential star in the NBA. And so when he got injured, it was right around the beginning of the bubble as well. We saw his price go down pretty heavily. Most recently was Tyler Hero when he had that huge game a couple weeks ago. And that was just insane. That was a lot of fun. I think we sold more cards in that 24-hour span of one player than we have so far in the whole entire time that we've been launched. More recently, for football fans, Dwayne Haskins just got benched. His Prism card went from $35 down to $5. Josh Allen is up, I think it was close to 400% since the start of the season for the Bills. And so those are a few fun ones as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy moves both ways there. Um, like, what about the seasonality of the sports? Have you noticed anything with that, either with the price fluctuations or just the volume of sales?
Absolutely. Kind of like what I said, a few minutes ago, especially on our site, we're getting a lot of people that want to come on and day trade or make like shorter term, flips. And so, there's a lot of seasonality to sports cards. And really, we see that the cards that are selling the most frequently are the players that are either playing games or are in the news. And so we've seen a little dip in the basketball market on our site and just market wide everywhere over the past, couple months or so. It also, is providing a really good buy opportunity, in my opinion. So if there's any basketball players that you're bullish on for this upcoming season, right now, everyone's focused on the baseball playoffs. Obviously, you have the NBA finals as well, but there's only 2 teams around playing in basketball right now. And so people are focused on football and a little bit on baseball. And so it's a good buying opportunity for basketball right now. I've been doing a little bit myself.
Yeah. And then can you talk a bit about the basketball and football competitions you're holding on your site? I'm involved in the football one. Unfortunately, I was in second place, so I was hoping we'd record it then, but I've dropped down to 6th. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing 2 competitions. One is the SIBBC, which should end in the next 48 hours potentially or so, and then the SIFC, which you're participating in. And so basically, what we've done is we've found 10 to 12 sports card sports or like fantasy sports experts, and we've given them $500 in a Starstock account to invest over the course of the season. And so we're keeping track on our website. We have an SIFC leaderboard. We have a blog. We're posting about it on our social media, and it's been really, really fun to follow along. It's been a blast to see like who you guys are investing in and which players you're buying. And I've followed actually a couple of your picks in the beginning of the season. And so it's just a fun way for our users and people that follow us on social media to kind of follow along and have some fun with experts like yourself.
I'm not sure if I'd consider
Football.
myself.
Has anyone else called you a football expert? Am I the first?
I think that might be the first time an Aussie's been called a NFL expert, but I did go pretty hard on the Joe Burrow cards. I think I got 4 of those, and I'm feeling like I'm in a good spot. I think he's off to a great start and is only going to get better. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the season.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Can you tell people a bit about? I mean, they've probably seen in the news if they've been looking at sports cards at all, the insane prices of LeBron rookie cards. I think his was sold for $1.8 million. Mike Trout, I think, was almost $4 million. Can you talk about like why is this happening and how is it possible?
So crazy. Yeah. So those are very, very high-end cards. Only a few produced of those that were bought. I think the LeBron, there was like 23 made. I think the Trout was five. Just, there sports cards definitely having a moment right now. There's a lot of hype back in the hobby on it. Personally, I think it's an intersection of people's interest in athletes and feeling like this is a way to kind of buy in and feel like you have a little bit of ownership in that athlete, buying into an asset, that the athlete's picture is basically on. There's also a little bit of like artwork in it as well. I know a lot of people say this, but people, some think that modern sports cards are kind of like the artwork for millennials and whatnot. And so there's a lot of people that grew up big collectors that now have a little bit more money, and these are things that have a lot of nostalgia. There's tons of people. We get a lot of DMs every week from people that are getting back into the sports cards because they just had kids. And so I think there's a lot of things happening right now in this space. Another thing as well is just like the rise of like the sneaker markets a few years ago. And so there's so many people that are leaking into the sports card space from the sneaker space or streetwear space. People that used to spend a lot of time flipping shoes on StockX are now getting into sports cards.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of high profile people getting into sports cards or even Pokemon cards. I think Gary Vee has been talking about sports cards for a pretty long time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think I read it was a blog post on their site that had some good tips for people that are getting back into the hobby. What tips do you have for people that are either want to get back into sports cards or are trying to learn about it for the first time?
Do some research. One of the goals at Starstock, and I think that we're doing a pretty good job of it right now. But as we work on our product, we're going to really hope to reach this goal. But we want to enable people that are big sports fans but don't really know that much about cards to come on our site and be able to buy cards without needing to know that much about it. And so we're pretty exclusive with the amount of cards that we accept. We don't accept every single set out there, really with the goal of enabling people that don't know much about cards but know that a certain player might be undervalued to come on and just buy into that player. And so I think my first piece of advice would be to do some research on it, um, and just make sure you're buying cards that are liquid enough that you'll be able to sell. And so one thing that's been pretty interesting, that I've kind of learned on Starstock from my own collection is I've been investing in cards that I know are very liquid. Like these are the base, very standardized cards, like Prism or Optic or Select. Those are three of like Panini, they're the manufacturer, they're most popular brands. And so you know that those will always be liquid. If a player has a good game, like a Tyler Hero, you'll always be able to flip those cards. And so I'd stay simple with that. That's where I'd start. And I'd do some research obviously you have to make some mistakes to learn and grow in investing in this space, but I would try to do as much research as possible prior.
And a feature you guys recently added, which I think is cool, is the recently sold list that you can search for which cards by sport, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, so you can get a bit of an idea for what cards are selling at what price, right?
Exactly. Yeah. All with the goal of trying to make the site feel more live. And so we're working on a lot of updates to that front marketplace page right now. That's really going to make it a lot easier to find cool and unique cards, but also like a lot easier to follow along with the live sports games that are going on and see who other people are buying and see which players are trending up and down based on their performance.
Yeah, that's something that when I was doing my football research, not knowing a ton about the sport, I was looking at those graphs and charts of what has been sold recently pretty closely because you guys pull in information from when the cards are sold on eBay and different places as well, right?
Yeah, just eBay. So we have their ungraded cards. their sales history on our site. And so you can see a comparison for the ungraded market on their site compared to our Starstock A's and B's. And so that's pretty interesting to look at. But yeah, we just wanted to put all that information out there for you. It's a common complaint with some of the other markets out there is that pricing information isn't available, and it isn't accurate. And so we wanted to give that to all of our users for free so they can price their cards accurately, or they can know that if they're buying a card, they're buying it at a good price, a fair price.
That's very helpful. And then when you talk about, I mean, how big the market is, I mean, right now, what percentage of the market is on eBay that's, super fragmented and hard to use?
eBay still has a majority of the market probably. A lot of trading's done on social media as well. We're seeing a big shift in the way that people are selling cards, and so more and more people every day are moving off of eBay, and trying to find alternative options just because the seller experience is poor, and it's very, very expensive, and those fees really do add up. And so I think that's one of the things that's really helped us is that we've really been very focused on our seller experience and providing the best experience possible for people that choose to list their cards on our site.
On something like the LeBron rookie card for 1.8 or the Mike Trout for 4 mil, like what kind of fees is the company selling that? Because that's more of an auction.
Yeah, that's done through an auction house. And so I'm actually not 100% positive what the fees are on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's done through an auction house, and not through like an eBay or a Starstock.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in the not too distant future, you can get a couple of those on the platform, right?
That's the goal. That is certainly the goal. Yep.
What's the most valuable card on the platform right now? I know I think when I was doing some football research, a Tom Brady one. I think somebody had listed it for $20,000, which is out of my budget for the sports cards.
Yeah, and I think a little bit out of market. Yeah, so that we have a Tom Brady on there. It sold for close to $7,000 a couple months ago.
Wow.
I would say that the high end of our market's kind of in that 1 to 20,000 range. And we have a few LeBrons as well. We even have it like a Jason Tatum where there was only 10 made, and so that's for sale for 10,000 or something around there. Those cards are usually like numbered, so they have a serial number on it, so you know that there's only like 5 made or 10 made. And so the market that we're really more interested about and really going after is like the middle to lower end of the market. The reason why is like, if you're trading or selling a $10 card on eBay and you're paying like $6 or $7 shipping and you're paying sales tax, like it doesn't even make sense to buy a card where all those fees are actually more expensive or the same as the card itself. And so our market's perfect for cards that are, between $2, $3 and $1,000. And then for cards that are between $1,000 and like 20,000, we are a third the transaction fee of some of the other sites. And so if you're not going to use an auction house, we're probably your best option there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Is there anything else you would like people to know about Starstock, about what's coming in the pipeline?
Yeah, a lot of exciting front-facing features coming soon. Past couple months, we've been getting so many cards on the site, or so many cards shipped to us, that we've had to spend a lot of our engineering efforts building like tools and functionalities on the back end so we can get all these cards onto the site. And so now that we've really had some success scaling that up, we are ready to start putting out some really exciting features. So there's going to be some cool updates coming to the marketplace in the next few weeks or so. A lot of like new live functionality there, updates to the collection as well. Really the goal in the collection is to really make it feel like it's a stock trading portfolio. And so we want to enable you to compare your basketball investments to your football investments, and your baseball investments, and show you different charts and graphs and stuff in there. And then lastly, we're leaning into soccer. So yeah, I don't think we've publicly said that anywhere yet. In the next
Interesting.
month or two, yeah, in the next month or two, we're going to launch soccer.
Okay. No, that
Yeah,
was one of the questions I was going to ask. Is there any other sports coming? That's interesting.
soccer is next. Yep, we're really excited. The market has just been crazy over the past 6 months or so. And there's World Cup and Olympics approaching and the Euro. And so we think it's a great time.
And a huge international market, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Huge international market.
How many cards are you guys processing each day that new cards that come onto the marketplace?
About 6,000 right now. And so that's up from several hundred a few months ago. And so that's like really been our biggest focus here is getting more cards onto the site. And so if you're on the front of the marketplace, you can see our live cards in the vault count. And so you'll literally see if you refresh after 5 or 10 seconds, you'll see that there's a few more cards in than there were, 10 seconds prior. So that's really cool.
No, that's awesome. And where can people find out more info on Starstock or you or about cards in general?
Yeah, starstock.com is our website. You could find us at Starstock Market on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach out to support at Starstock. My personal email is scott@starstock. If you want to get in touch with me, always down to have conversations with collectors in the space. And yeah, so hope you guys follow us there. We're excited for these next few months of the year.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. That was great.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Hey guys, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Matthew Daly. And while you're there, check out the Daly podcast playlist for more episodes. Thanks for tuning in.